Squirrels are fighting!
Rolling.
We are. Hello and welcome back, you beautiful people. We're here, I'd love to say to stay. It's a little bit uncertain, but we did go on a hiatus to keep in line with the COVID guidelines. But I am so thrilled to be back. We are continuing our resolution real talk, and today I will be talking to the lovely Gregory Hazel about how he set up his very own business. Boom! That was quite good for me.
Sorry,
Greg, welcome.
Thank you.
To someone else's story. That's the name of the channel. Brings me cake. Anyway, we will get onto that soon. Me and Greg met many years ago because Greg is just a very supremely talented human being, as well as being master baker. Have to be careful when you say that.
Yes.
You're also a thesp. The worlds of theatre brought us together.
Yes, it did.
And
in my younger days.
In your younger days. Moisturizer. And now you bake things.
I do.
Let's go back to the beginning. When did you start baking?
I definitely started baking when I was about 4 on a little stool in the kitchen stirring the cake mix for my mum. But in terms of when did I start to become better at baking is probably in my 20s. I always baked. I baked throughout my teens, but it was always a bit slapdash and like cheesecake sort of collapsing as you take the tin off. And but then I guess in the era of Bake Off, kind of watching and going, I think I'm going to try that and I'm going to try this, and being a bit more realistic rather than being 13 and going, I'm going to make the best thing ever, and it collapses.
Do make the best.
So now I've developed my skills. I love it. For me, it's about sharing a bit of myself with people and showing them that I care, showing them that I love them.
As Jenna Hunterson tells us, it's amazing what baking can do. What is it? Because you say that Bake Off made you want to be like, I'm going to bake, whereas I watch Bake Off and it stresses me out. I think I could never do that.
Well,
talk me through the life twist.
I think it depends on what kind of a day I'm having, but sometimes I watch Bake Off and go, I could absolutely do that. And then other times I go, oh my God, I just know I can't do what these people do. I just love the feeling it gives me when other people enjoy it. I've always baked for friends. I, pre-COVID, used to bring baked goods in for my colleagues. If I'm in a show, I like to bake. Which I think is the only reason anyone hires me.
No, it just really helps.
And I just love that feeling, and I think if there's something that you can do that makes someone smile, then you should do it, and that's my thing.
Such a dream. You have baked, I didn't know I was going to ask you this, for some quite exciting people.
Yes.
Would you care to elaborate?
So, pre-COVID, in the days of Company in the West End, Mel Gidroich was in the show, and my boss asked if she would judge a workplace bake-off, and I was the winner. But it's weird because now I look back at that cake and I go, oh, really? And now I've kind of, I've developed my skills even further. But she called my macarons sensational. That was a big moment.
Sensational. Hi, Mel, if you're watching, I'm sure you are. Love you.
But also, just side note, she's completely amazing. And actually, that was a big turning point for me because she gave me one of the Bake Off cookbooks from her time on the show as a prize, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna up my game. And I started flicking through going, I've never made that, I've never made this, I don't know how that works. So I just kind of set myself a bit of a kind of Julie and Julia mission.
Oh, I love it.
Didn't finish it, but just started learning new skills. And then dropping them off at her dressing room, going, I just made this, which maybe was a bit stalkerish, but she was always very kind.
Who says no to cake? When is that ever going to be a thing? But just to pick on something you said, I know from having spoken to you, and I think you're quite open about this on your social media, you're delightfully meticulous with it. Do you find that, and I would go as far to say you're your own worst critic.
Yes.
Do you find that hard to put that crap down?
Yes.
The most like these brownies are going in the bin before I send them.
No, there have been a few of those moments. Just because I don't want to send something through the mail because we ship across the UK, something that I'm not happy with. So there are times that the entire thing goes in the bin. But I think we've left those days behind us now because I've been doing it for long enough to, I know what I'm doing. But like, especially if there's a new flavour, I might do it 2 or 3 times to try and really pinpoint it and find the best version of that flavour before it goes on sale.
So I'm also equally, I'm just going to share this story, no one cares, but I'm equally meticulous. I one time tried to make salted caramel brownies. It went wrong, and so I just upended them into a Tupperware and had them with ice cream, but it looked like a tub of excrement. Anyway, on that note.
But these brownies are very good with ice cream. Just saying.
Oh. Let's eat things! Ah! Right, shall we go? Whilst I have blondies for dinner, Greg, tell us how you started Hazel With Love.
Well, it was very much a pandemic thing. It was what can I do to make some money that I already know how to do? Because the things that I know how to do are perform, not possible, work in hospitality, not possible, and bake. So it started as just a Facebook page. It was very kind of informal, selling via DMs. And then that instantly was a lot of hard work, trying to kind of balance all these things. And I very quickly needed a website where it was all going to be, more professional and be able to sell to people other than friends and family.
Yeah.
And it really was just finding the thing that I know how to do and then learning how to turn it into a business.
Right.
That was it.
Let's talk about your nan.
So my nanny's name was Hazel. So I took her name as my stage name, and for years I've always dreamt of having a tea room. I feel like maybe I'll do it one day, somewhere lovely in the country. But when the idea of the baking business came about and it needed a name, I was like, it needs to be named after her, because she was just a force to be reckoned with. And my dad tells these amazing stories of her catering for 20 people on Christmas Day and not even breaking a sweat. And she made everything herself, jams and chutneys and everything. And I think that's why I have such a strong connection with baking, because the memories I do have of her are in the kitchen and churning out these amazing cakes. And I knew straight away that it was going to have this connection, and I wanted to kind of keep paying tribute to her.
I can't.
That's what I'm doing.
So beautifully, it has to be said as well.
Thank you.
I love it. For the people out there, as this is Resolution Real Talk, anyone considering starting a business, what have you found have been the pros and cons?
So the minute I decided that I was going to give this a go, I made a very conscious decision that I wanted to do it and make the best eco-friendly choices.
Amazing.
I don't use any plastic packaging. This is all plastic free. I don't know if I'm in shot here. It's all plastic free. Biodegrades within 24 months.
Incredible.
So it doesn't sit in a landfill for 400 years. It can go on a compost heap. I use plant-based tape, paper, packaging to stop things rolling around. I don't use stickers. It's all that kind of thing. But the con is that can come at a price.
Yeah.
So you could reduce your costs more and make poorer choices, in my view.
Yeah.
But I just have made this vow to myself and my customers that I'm going to make the right choices so that I can run the business with a clean conscience, and you can buy the brownies, the blondies, the cakes with a clean conscience.
Even though they taste so delightfully sinful.
There are no calories.
No calories. Cut them and they fall out.
There's been a lot of kind of learning for me, because I'm a very proud person, and I struggle when I feel out of my depth and don't know what I'm doing. And the thing that I'm kind of still learning, but I have learned a lot, is that you actually need to rely on people that know what they're doing in other fields, so you can just excel in the thing that you do. And what I do is bake, so if someone else knows what they're doing with marketing, then I just need to let them do it. because I have always been a bit of a control freak in all elements of my life. So it's just kind of going, okay, someone knows what they're doing. That's great.
Let's let them do it.
And just kind of build a team. Pros, it's great working for yourself. It's given me a schedule, which in the pandemic we've all kind of been missing. So it's been really nice to know that I'm baking on this day, and that day is admin, and that day is dispatch and cleaning and all that kind of thing. I would recommend that anyone who has a skill that they can offer and gives it a go, and you can decide how busy you want to be. You can decide if you want to make enough money to buy your coffee every day, or build an extension. You kind of get to make the rules.
Yeah.
But the thing that I think is completely brilliant is pre-COVID, I did feel like there was this stigma almost for performers that had another line of work, another project. I definitely have felt people kind of say, oh, you have something else, you have a backup plan. But actually, we've all needed something else in this time. And I think what's going to be great is post-pandemic, all of these artists that have created another line of work for themselves will keep that going and be able to be proud of it.
Yeah.
Say,
there was an actor who said it's an as well as job, not an instead of job.
Yeah.
I just think that's the best way, It's got outgoings as the industry. We got to earn that dollar somehow.
Exactly.
So, tell us about the nurses.
Oh, that actually for me has been the highlight, particularly in lockdown. I would say that most of my customers buy brownies as gifts, and they add a lovely message, and a lot of them were for people that were shielding, thinking of you, so sorry we can't see you. But also there were a lot that were going to nurses, and you're doing such an amazing job. And I don't know that person, and sometimes I don't even know the person that's bought them, but it was just so lovely to feel like I was making the tiniest bit of difference to that person's day, because I was the one that baked the brownies that were there to say that they were amazing. So that's been really lovely.
You're such a good human! Cannot!
But I'm not a nurse.
Question. Is it tricky when something is your passion, much like performing actually, when something is your passion and it becomes your business? Is there a struggle to keep the love? Like, do you still enjoy baking, or are you like, if I see one more brownie?
Yes and no. I had probably only baked brownies twice in my life before I started a brownie business.
Right.
So it's not something that I bake recreationally. So there is like a clear divide between work and recreational baking. And no, there isn't as much time for recreational baking, but when there is, I make something completely different, like a lemon drizzle loaf or something, so that it's like a real treat now, as opposed to baking 3 times a week to just get fat, really.
So fine. Also a good life choice.
It is tricky because you kind of have to find a new hobby or another hobby on top of the one that you've turned into a business, and make sure that there's downtime in other ways. But I still love it. I'm going to continue it beyond the pandemic, and it will run alongside other jobs and other projects as much as possible, and maybe at some point it will become my full-time job, I don't know.
And you're going to open the tea room!
That would be ideal.
I'm there, opening day. I'll just sit and drink tea and eat. It would be delightful. Greg, thank you so much for coming and bringing baked goods. I'm going to make this a specification for all my guests from now on. No, it won't be as good as yours. To find out more about From Hazel With Love, please head to the links in the description to this video. Greg is on the Facebook and he's on the Insta at From Hazel With Love. So give it a like, give it a subscribe, and thank you for joining us. I look forward to seeing you for another Someone Else's Story soon. So much love. Mwah!